Hi, my name is Sam Garcia, and this fall I'll be starting the multiple subject teaching credential program at Cal State University, Channel Islands. This is the same school that I received my bachelor's in early childhood studies from, where I was Mrs. Castro's student teacher and she became my lifelong mentor. Mrs. Castro truly went above and beyond in preparing me for my future as a teacher, and even though my experience with Mrs. Castro was only for one semester, the effect that she has had on me has been greater than any of my classes combined, and I can truly see the lifelong impact that a good teacher can have on her students. If I had to summarize Mrs. Castro in one word, it would be superhero. Mrs. Castro has this way about her that makes you feel like you're so unique and special, like you're the only person in the room. She has this general happiness and optimism about her that's unmatched by anyone that I've ever met, and she brings it into the classroom every day. Even if she's having a bad day, she would never let it show to her students. She was really instrumental in teaching me how to put on what she calls her teacher mask when you enter the classroom, which really demonstrated to me her putting her students' needs ahead of her own. I know how much a teacher's mood can impact her students, and I want my classroom to be that place that they look forward to every day. Mrs. Castro has this force about her that when she talks, you just want to listen. Even when she has to be firm with a child, she does it in such a way that's so kind, you wouldn't even think that the child's getting in trouble. I remember a little boy was constantly disrupting this little girl while she was trying to present to the class, and she looked over at him and she said, "So-and-so was listening to you, and now it's our turn to listen to them." And immediately, he just stopped. She would make it a habit to point out positive behaviors instead of focusing on the negative ones. If a child started to get noisy or disruptive, she would thank a child who is sitting quietly, and immediately the whole class would cross their legs and sit up straight because they wanted that positive attention from Mrs. Castro too. It has this effect on children to make them want to be the best person that they can be, and I know that I want to be that positive influence for my students too. Mrs. Castro also has these little words of encouragement that people call Mrs. Castroisms. I remember feeling this huge sense of pride just listening to the children answer her questions, because she would excitedly tell them things like, "Give yourself a kiss on the brain," or "Tell yourself good job," or "Give yourself a pat on the back." And every single time she said this to a child, they would get this grin from ear to ear. She makes students feel like they're superheroes too, and that's exactly how I want my students to feel. Mrs. Castro also has a background in special education and cognitive behavioral therapy that she brings into her classroom every day. She really taught me the meaning of the word equity. I remember right before the children walked in on the first day of school, she told me that everyone who walks into her class comes in with different strengths, and it is our job as teachers to identify those strengths and help them work on their assets that may not be as strong. She viewed assignments as a delicate balance of sometimes expanding their brain just enough to scaffold to the next level, while also throwing in some assignments that are a little bit easier for them so that they can feel a sense of mastery. I watched her give the same assignment to every single child in the class, but she would differentiate instruction for each of them to find the thing that worked for them. I want my students to know that I genuinely care about them, and I want them to know that they are capable learners who are worthy of problem solving and overcoming challenges, just as she did for hers. One memory I have of her that is set apart from all the rest was watching her fight to have two of the children in the special needs class next door included into her own class. She showed me that you can be powerful and assertive while also being kind and respectful. She wanted every child to have equal opportunities for success, and she saw the potential in everyone. I had never seen someone do something like this before. Be so selfless, adding so much more to her workload when there was nothing to gain for her, but this would provide so much for those children. I want my students to know that I genuinely care for them too, and I want to be an advocate for those students who may not have a voice yet. And her hard work paid off. Those students who joined her class absolutely thrived, and I'll forever feel empowered by the difference that she made for those children. One of those 4-year-olds was even at a second grade reading level, and that child read me a chapter of The Giving Tree, and I just felt this huge sense of pride, and I was so proud of Mrs. Castro for giving those children those opportunities. She told me that some parents think that having a child with special needs will take away time from their own child, or teach them undesirable behaviors. But because of her, I learned that inclusion is such a positive thing, and that diversity is a huge asset in the classroom, both for general and special needs students. If a child imitates negative behavior from an inclusion student, I know that I can use it as a teachable moment instead of viewing it as a burden. I can use those moments to address appropriate social behavior and social skills. Inclusion can teach us empathy, and I think that is so important so we can learn from one another. She showed me how going above and beyond can make someone else feel. If a parent tells her that their child isn't behaving at home, She goes home and she makes them a laminated Velcro behavior chart for them to take home the next day. She makes other people's problems her own, not because she has to, but because she wants to. She genuinely cares about the families in her care. Mrs. Castro has been my kindest, most patient role model to date. She is my mentor in teaching and in life, and I hope that I can be that person for a future generation of students. She's not only a good teacher, but she's a good person. Because of how much she helped me grow, I know that I can bring everything that she taught me into my own class while also learning more every day. I want to radiate that same happiness that she brings to her students onto my own, and I want to make my classroom feel as loving, safe, and nurturing as she did in hers. Academics are definitely a part of school, but they're not the only important piece. She gave me a new perspective on teaching, to make education fun and exciting while also giving children a love of learning. I want to be a superhero just like Mrs. Castro someday.